Hello, 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 everyone. It's Dr. Tamar Beckford, and welcome to the Dr. Tamar Beckford Show. I am excited. If you guys have not heard it in my voice, super excited today. I'm bringing in one of my friends, my mentor, my coach, just such a special person in my life and in so many of your life too. So for those of us physician entrepreneurs out there, you might recognize this face today. It's the one and only EntreMD Business School founder. But I'm not going to just bring it on just like that, right? Today we're going to be talking about something that everybody needs. How to market your business for 10x results, right? How to market your business for 10x results. We all need to learn this. Now, we are all businesses. You incorporated. I remember even saying this week or last week when I was talking to some faculty at the prestigious Vanderbilt University. I'm saying, hey, all of us are our own brand. So even with that, you need to learn these skills, right? These are skill sets that we all need. So let me bring on my guest in my fashion so I can get all of you guys as much info as possible within this time frame, right? So our wonderful guest, my friend, mentor, coach, is a graduate of the University of Nigeria. She did her residency in North Beth Israel Medical Center in Newark, New Jersey. So now for those of you guys, there's a difference between Newark, Delaware, and Newark, New Jersey. So she did hers in Newark, New Jersey. She's the CEO and founder of the EntreMD, which is a company on a mission to help 100,000 physicians build profitable 7 and 7+ figure businesses. Profitable is the key word in that, because you can build businesses and still not be profitable, right? Which we're all learning. You can be still not profitable, suffering, and not really being able to take home money, even if you have a 7-figure business. That's not what we're all about, right? We're all about being profitable, living that dream life in addition to having that dream business. Why? So that you can live life on your own terms and have the freedom to do so, and to be able to practice medicine also on your own terms, right? She does this through a variety of ways. Now, ask her how many hours she has in her 24 hours, because I'm still trying to figure it out. So she not only is the CEO and founder of the EntreMD Business School, which is the only business school of its kind for physician entrepreneurs. It's not even the only business school, it's the only school of its kind for physician entrepreneurs in here, ever started, founded, multiple 7-figure earning, making and building other multiple 7-figure physicians from scratch. I've witnessed this. So this is not make believe. I've seen it myself, right? Not only she's doing that, she is also the CEO of Ivy League Pediatrics, which you talk about that. So that she also is the host of the EntreMD podcast. She also, which is a top 10 podcast, but I think it's probably more than that. I'm pretty sure I looked you up on Listener. Now I'm at 3% and you're at 1%. So I'm chasing you, but I'm just not there yet. All right. She also has top selling books, which she's dropped, and we have probably some more coming, where all of this that's in here that she's using to help to build all these physicians, she's putting it out there for those of you guys there who want to see the framework. She has her books that she's doing that. She's also been featured in Forbes. Her business, the EntreMD, is the number. Well, now we're at number 17 on the Inc. 5,000 list of fastest growing companies in the Southeast region of the United States. In addition to that, she's a mom. She's a wife. She has 24 hours, but I don't know where she gets the extra from, right? I'm talking about the one and only Dr. Una. Woo! Hey, Dr. Una, thank you so much for jumping on again.
Thank you for having me here. If you're going to introduce me like that, I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to stay.
so much, and so much wisdom. I am excited. I'm going to be pulling out as much as I can in this time frame. So be ready. Be
Let's
ready.
do it.
Okay. All right, cool. So first we're going to start for those who don't know you and they're like, oh, this Dr. Una, we're streaming live here on LinkedIn. They're probably like, who is this wonderful person that Dr. Beckford's talking about? So let's just give them a quick little background about yourself, about what made you decide to be a doctor in the first place.
Yeah, I was born to two doctors. My dad
Mm-hmm.
was a surgeon. My mom was a is a farm D. So two
Mm-hmm.
docs in the house, and and I grew up in Nigeria. So of course there are only three options, right? Like you're either a doctor, a lawyer, or depending on the person, engineer or an accountant. One of those three. But
Okay, you
that's it.
might get.
Those are your options. And while my parents never, they never really tried to make us do any of those, but we grew
Mm-hmm.
up in the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had medicine on my mind. I had law on my mind a lot, actually more than
Mm-hmm.
medicine in the beginning. But there was all this narrative around, medicine is really hard. We don't know if you can do it and things like that. I think that's what
Uh-oh.
pushed me over the edge. And I was like, huh, I'll show you, stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got into medicine. Medicine in Nigeria is the European system, so you go from high school to medical school and 6 years of medical school. So
Mm-hmm.
I skipped a few classes because I like to do everything fast. So every time I could take an exam and skip a class, I would do it. So I actually turned 17 in medical school, if you can imagine that. And so I did it. And, I started off and I kind of felt like, I'm also here. The people who are really here are here.
Mm-hmm.
My first semester I did, I had A's and B's. I was like, wait, I was kind of playing. I got A's and B's. Like, let's do it like we mean it. And so med
Mm-hmm.
school was fun for me. And it's the elimination system, right? Like every year you can fall off because it's just survival of the fittest. That's the system. It was
Mm-hmm.
great. I was sure I was not going to be a pediatrician. Like people say, what are you going to be when you're done? I'm like, I don't know, but I know I'm not doing pediatrics.
Mm.
OBGYN was my first choice, but when I realized I would be doing overnight call for the rest of my life, I was like, I know I'm going to be living 9 lives. I'm not, I can't do that. And so I was like, where can I still get the mommies though? Right. Cause
Mm.
that's the group of people I felt the most compassion for.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, they're in pediatrics. So pediatrics it is. And so that's how I, moved back to the United States because I was born here. Moved
Mm-hmm.
back to the United States and then went to do my training in pediatrics. It was a lot of
I
fun.
love it. So we're here. I love there's so many of our physician colleagues when I interview them, they're like, oh, OBGYN is where I am going. I'm gonna be an OB. And then they are pediatricians. So you are on the other side with them where you're loving the mom, but you're like, you know, the lifestyle might not be the lifestyle for me. So you mentioned that, yeah, you knew you were going to be living 9 lives. So were you always just active in doing a lot of things?
I actually wasn't. I think it was more intuition.
Ah,
Because I did not have I never really had plans, formulated plans of having a business. That this was not
mm-hmm,
a thought that I had. I never thought I would be a speaker, a podcaster, a writer.
mm-hmm,
But I just felt that I was very aware there was more. I didn't
mm-hmm.
have a concept of what it was. I
Right,
really just didn't. But I knew overnight for the rest of my life, I was like, that's not going to work with what is going to end up happening.
right.
So I was aware there was more, but I had no clue what it was,
Just
none
it was just
whatsoever.
a like you said, an inkling.
Yeah.
Now that brings me because we know that you ended up doing so much, like we said, more, right? But there is an entrepreneurial spirit that has now, like, I won't even say taken off. This is just more than the rocket ship. I'm here in NASA. NASA has nothing on what's going on here. But when did the bug bite you? When did that entrepreneurial bug just like bite and just like, you know what? So and it was it that it bit or was it that you stumbled into it? Like what happened?
So I stumbled and then it bit and bit. So how about we
Hmm.
do that, right? Like
Okay.
so the beginning was a stumble.
Hmm.
So I when I was done with my training in New Jersey, I got a job in Georgia because I knew I wanted to move to Georgia.
Hmm.
And I worked for a doctor who was a neonatologist. So he owned a practice, but he couldn't work in it because of the conflict of interest and all of that. So he would just hire doctors to work there. And
Hmm.
so even though I was working for somebody, I was like a solopreneur because I was the
Hmm.
only one there. And so he then said, after he knew I was not going to renew my contract because I had to move to another part of Georgia that was an hour away, he was
Hmm.
like, "Well, you should start your own practice." I'm like, dude, I don't know what part of this story you don't get, but I'm less than a year out of residency. In case you
Hmm.
missed this ginormous bump here, I'm very pregnant. Like nobody starts a practice X number of months out of residence. Like that's not the way this works.
Right.
And he
Right.
says, "Well, your baby will be a baby, and the practice will be a baby. And so by the time the baby needs you more, by the time the practice needs you more, the baby will be grown, and the baby will need you less. So you'll be okay. This is a perfect
Mm.
time to start." And so, and then I had a mentor who also said, "It's time for you guys to start your practice and all of these things." So I stumbled on it because ignorance is bliss. I didn't
Yes.
know the amount of work required. And not just the work, because we're physicians, we have a solid work ethic. There's no way to get through medicine without it. I did not
Hmm.
realize the personal evolution it would require. That work I
Correct.
didn't realize. So I'm
Yes.
thinking, I will hang the shingle. This will be so nice, and they will come.
There is
And
a
so
movie about it.
I hung the shingle, and to my shock and terror, they did not come.
But
And I'm like,
you're
so,
a great physician. How
but
did they not know?
I don't know what they were thinking, Dr. Beckford. I don't know.
How?
And
Mm.
so I remember going like, oh my goodness, like, you mean I have to go tell people to send me patients? You mean I have to
Mm.
put it out myself out there? I'm like, I'm a professional. I don't do things like that. Like I have to
Yes.
hire, I have to fight. Like, what is this? And I would have run away, but I had a lease, I had insurance company contracts, I had all of these things. So that was my first stumble. Because if I had
Mhm.
known, I would not have done it. I would not have. That was a stumble. Then I remember, reading Brian Tracy's book, Eat That Frog. And if you're watching this and you don't have that book, go buy it. But buy the
Mhm.
visibility formula first, put that in the cart, and then add
Yes,
the Eat
and
That
then
Frog, right?
add the
Okay.
eat that frog next to
And
it.
yeah. And so I was reading the book, and he made a statement there. He said all business skills are learnable, because I had spent all this time going like, I suck, I can't figure this out, I'm not a business person, this is so crazy.
Mhm.
That statement, this is 2010, I still remember it. I'm like,
Mhm.
wait a minute. I may not be good at many things, but I'm excellent at learning. I'm a whole physician. This is what we do.
This
And
is
I'm
what
like,
we
if
do.
business skills are learnable, then oh my goodness, right? Like I can do that.
Mhm.
And that's where the bug bit me first, because then I was like, oh, networking is not a personality type. Like, it's a skill. I can actually learn it, right?
Mhm.
Building a referral base. I mean, like, I can learn how to do that. I can learn how to lead a team. I was like, what? You got to be kidding me. So built a practice. Hired another doctor who was working every Friday. So every week I had a long weekend. It was like totally amazing. And I was good. I was good
Mhm.
till 2016. So this is 6 years later. Practice is good. I'm working 4-day work weeks. Money is good. I'm doing my practice the way I want to do it. Right.
Yes.
And then I have this again, this is intuition now, right? Because I'm sitting in my office, had a time of prayer, meditation, just chilling, minding my own business. And then I just had this aha moment, like
Mm.
medicine as you know it is dead. And if all you know how to do is doctor, you're going to be in trouble. And it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be really bad. Now, this is
Mhm.
2016. So you can imagine how weird it was. This was
It
8 years
is.
ago,
We're
right?
thriving. I can't
Yeah.
imagine how much backlash you must have gotten if you told
Oh my
anybody.
goodness. And I did. I mentioned in some Facebook groups, oh, they dragged me so bad. It was so bad. And I'm just like, what if it's 20? It's so funny. I was like, what if it's 2025 and they've trained other people who can do your job, and you have to compete for a job or you have to do something else? What would you do? People are like, I'm an ER doc. There will always be a high demand for me. Like,
Mhm.
I wish I could go find that post now, because it seemed like what I was talking about was completely impossible.
Mhm.
But for me, I was like, well, it's time to retool myself, because the first time I retooled myself from pediatrician to like lead pediatrician, that's what I used to call myself. I'm the lead pediatrician of Ivy League Pediatrics. I retooled myself and became the CEO. which is
Mm-hmm.
very different, right? Like
Yeah.
I can run the business, I can make the business work, I can build a business asset that can work without me. That was my first evolution. And
Mm-hmm.
now this evolution, I was like, but what if I cannot lay hands on patients? What can I do to still contribute a lot to medicine, still practice on my terms, still create revenue, still be okay, like a-okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, to show you how green I was, I didn't even know coaching was a thing. I was like, well, I built a successful practice, so maybe I could be a consultant. I could show other people how to do it. I was like, I could be a speaker. People make money speaking. I could be a writer. I could be a course developer. I still remember where I was in my office writing all these things down. And then I
Mm-hmm.
started retooling myself, right? Like learn to be a speaker. This
Right.
socially awkward, super shy introvert, but it's a skill apparently, right?
I love
Learn
there's
to be
by
a
the way,
speaker.
you guys, there's a picture of her that her husband took when she's in that speaking program. And the look on her face, like, what? Yes.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was so crazy. But I did it and I invested
Mhm,
heavily. I paid $43,000 for that program. Best $43,000 I've ever spent. And retooled myself. And
mhm.
I started it and I was like, wait a minute. There's not enough time for me to learn this, get all the way, and then tell the doctors, like, look what's happening. I was like, why don't we do it together? I'm already a few steps ahead, but I can help people as I go. And that's really that's EntreMD. That's how EntreMD came about,
Mhm.
Um, and had a first meeting with 6 doctors and 3 medical students, that all my marketing skills, that's the number of people I could gather. And we had our first meeting and that's 5 years ago.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. There's something interesting that you stated, which is a huge mindset barrier too for us physicians, which is like, I'm a professional. Um, this isn't what I do. I have done all the training. I have my, certificates and I have my awards. And by the way, when you graduate from med school, your certificate is like, it's really large. It's almost like a half a wallpaper. You know what I mean? So I have this large thing. I should not have to tell people, because you should automatically know the fact that I say Dr. Blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't have to do anything else, right?
Yeah,
Let's
if
dive
only.
into that part
Yeah, let's do that. I mean,
about why it's so important to
well, to
market.
start with,
Mhm,
we do need to be aware that
mhm.
business has a really bad rap.
Yes.
And we have to be aware that it's deception, right? Like, so when you think about the movies, who's the villain in the movies? Is the
Yes.
business person, is the corporation,
Sure.
the bad guys. When you
Sure.
think about the
Yes. Yes.
government, yeah, these people should pay all the taxes. Like, the business people are painted as the bad guys.
Mhm.
um so that's one thing we need to be aware of. And so when those narratives start playing out, we're like, yeah, that's just bad speak, right?
Mhm.
The second thing we need to be aware of is we were deceived because, and it's not an intentional deception, it's just what it
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
Because what happens in a hospital setting, right? Like, I stop at the Starbucks, I get my coffee, I go to my office, I sit down. When the patient is ready for me, my MA will come tell me your patient is ready. I go see
Mhm.
the patient, I do that all day, I go back home. And then 2 weeks later, money magically appears in my bank account.
There
It's
we
a
go.
miracle,
Mhm.
right? But the reality is, there is a PR person who goes to
Mhm.
build a referral base for you. The
Mhm.
reality is, there's a front desk person in a call center who answers all the calls and gets people scheduled on your appointment, on your schedule. The
Mhm.
reality is, there's somebody else who's a patient care coordinator who calls everybody who's overdue for your appointments to get them on your schedule. The
Mhm.
reality is, the hospital put up billboards to make sure that people know you're there. The
Mhm.
reality is, when you got the job, they sent out letters to all these people to say this new person is now here. There are so many things that went into filling up your schedule that we're completely unaware of. So it
Right.
gives us this concept that we can have a busy practice without marketing. But the truth of the matter is, that happens nowhere. Like, you may
That's
not be doing the
true.
marketing, but the marketing is happening.
Mhm.
Period. And so we have to understand that we were so shielded from the business of medicine that it gives us this false sense of, like, I can't fail. Like, I would just show up and the people will come.
They
No,
should
ma'am, no,
know.
sir. No, ma'am,
Mm,
no, sir. And you might could have gotten away with it back in the day, right?
mhm.
Because we didn't intend to, but we had a monopoly, right? It was
Right.
different. When I graduated, there was nothing like a Minute Clinic or a Village MD or any of these things. Like those corporations did not play in the healthcare space. We played in
Correct.
the healthcare space. But now there are so many, like it's the same pie, but there's so many players. And so if you will not compete, you're going to go out of business, the end. Like it's as simple as that. Now, if that's true for private practice, then you can imagine how much more true it is for a coach or a consultant or a speaker or an event host.
Mhm.
If you will not promote your business, first of all, let's not even go if you will not. Let's not even, let's pretend those people are not on this call.
Right.
But if you are going to do the hard work, like when we think about what I do in EntreMD,
Mhm.
I'm like serious, right? Like, so there's the podcast, there's the book, there's the EntreMD Business School. I show up live every week. Like I'm going to show up live in an hour and a half now. I do all of this stuff. If I'm going to do that much work to serve people, then it is insane that I will not tell people about it.
That's
It is
true.
absolute nuts, right? Like, because
Mhm.
if I don't tell them, they will not know. If they will not know, they will not come. If they don't come, they don't get the results. So what was the point? So what I tell people when they say, "Oh, I want to start this business for passive income," I'm like, "Oh my goodness, business is not a passive sport. It's an active sport, okay? And
Yes.
if you're resistant to marketing, if you're like, I am not going to do that, don't start it. Go get a job and let somebody else do the marketing for you,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
then just take the paycheck." But it's so terrible. So, like Dr. Beckford, the doctors in the Business School, so we can use a picture.
Mhm.
You know a doctor who's come in, because you can pick anyone, right? Like any of
Yes.
them. There's so many examples, but you can pick a doctor who started off as an employed physician, didn't think
Mhm.
they could do a practice, now own a private practice, are doing multiple seven figures in revenue, have more time off than they've ever had. Their marriage is better. Their relationship with their kids is better. Their health is better. It's all better. That person was looking for what I do. You have to think that it's evil that I won't tell them what I do.
That you
But
won't
beyond
tell
it
them.
just being good for you to do that as a good business practice, there's also a part of it that's just flat out evil
Mhm.
that I
Yeah,
wouldn't tell
because you
them
have a solution,
because I have a
and
solution and
and
their
you
lives
know
could
that
be
they're there
so
suffering.
different.
You know that they're there suffering. You know you have a solution. And if what's stopping you from telling somebody about that solution is I'm a professional. I don't go out there and tell people. Really? So that's akin to somebody right in front of you that's bleeding, and they're bleeding out, and they're in pain, and they're reaching out for you. And you're like, I'm sorry, but this is not being done in my sterile setting. So, no, you know,
Wow.
it's just not fair. It's just not fair. Now, there's some ways that we know, the reason for marketing. It's important. You have a skill set, you want to effect change in the world. It's important to do it. But now some people are just like, I don't know the first thing about marketing. What Where do I even start? Alrighty, let's jump onto those people because I see some of them in the chat. Hello, hello, friends.
Yeah, so the starting point of all things marketing, we've talked about it. The starting point is deciding that it's a non-negotiable. Like that is the very beginning. Like I
Correct.
understand that the good I do in the world is not just the service I offer, but putting
Mhm.
that service in front of as many people as possible so that I can serve the people I'm called to serve. The first thing is a mindset. This is a
Mhm.
non-negotiable. This is part of my job. It's the service and the marketing, or the product and the marketing, they go together. Getting out of resistance, right? Like, so
Mhm.
that really is the starting point. The second point is deciding what it is that you do. And I say this
Yeah.
because you know a lot of times people are like, well, I can't choose who I want to serve because I want to serve everybody. And I'm like, there are 8 billion people like on earth. When you say everybody, is that what you mean? 8 billion? Because if 0.0001 of them percent of them came to you, you won't know what to do with them.
Mhm.
Right. And so when we talk to everybody, nobody listens. When we talk to one person, then everybody. Do you see what I mean? Like, so you
Yes.
can't talk to everybody. You're gonna pick, and then people are like, well, I can't pick. I'm like, you're a psychiatrist. You're not a pediatrician. You're not a family medicine doc. You're not a heart surgeon. You're not a physical therapist. You chose, and
That's
you can
true.
choose again. Okay.
Hmm.
You could have been an accountant. You could have been all kinds of things. And really coming to terms with that puts you in a position where when you do speak, the people who are your people raise their hand and say, exactly, that's exactly who I'm looking for. So the
Hmm.
person, for instance, who's a physician, who's decided I'm in a phase in life where I have enough money that I've put away in my index funds and all of that, I just want to travel the world. The person will be thoroughly irritated by me because I'm
Hmm.
always talking about what to do, who you can help, having a big impact, all that. Like, and then I just shut up. I just want to go to the beach. Right? They're not my people. They're not bad. They're just not right. Like, so if I try to talk to everybody, I talk to
Hmm.
nobody because that person doesn't care.
Absolutely.
They don't care. They don't want anything to do with me. But there's somebody else whose dream has been to maybe start a private practice, or maybe they started the private practice, but they're so burnt out because they're like, I can't lead this team. I don't know how to delegate. I don't know how to build processes and all this stuff. And I'm like,
I haven't had a vacation in
I've had a
4 years.
vacation in 5 years. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I got a roadmap for you. Right. Like,
Hmm.
so you want to be clear on who it is you serve. Who is the person you serve? Because every other thing we're going to talk about, you're only going to be doing that for the people you serve.
That's
I'm
true.
not going to try and convince the person who wants to go to the beach to come start a business. They don't want to start a business. You know what I mean? So they're just going to probably work with somebody who would show them how to travel effectively with children and take a sabbatical and all that stuff. Okay.
Hmm.
So know who you serve. Now, when we have those two things, right, then we're in a position to start putting it out there. Now, so people tell me, oh, I want to market my business. I want to start a podcast. I'm like, no, ma'am, we skipped a step. Okay. And this is the most important. Like, the first two things are very, very important. This is the next important thing. And if we get this right, the other things kind of fall into place. So I want
Hmm.
everybody to get this because this is probably the most challenging part. For the business you have, the person your business serves, now the decision maker, right, is an
Hmm.
adult.
Hmm.
Let's think about who's going to swipe the card. It's an adult. So even if you're a pediatrician,
Hmm.
in the business sense, your client is not the patient. Your client is the parent who's making the buying decision.
Correct.
So they're adults. Okay. So what that means is, for instance, let me say for me, let's say I want to have 1,000 new clients.
Hmm.
They already exist. They're not going to be born. They're not out of this world. They're not in Mars. They already exist. And
Hmm.
they exist in communities somewhere.
Yes.
Like, once we have this thought, if I want 2,000 people, 5,000 people, they already exist right this moment. And they're already in congregations, if you will, right? They're in
Hmm.
communities somewhere.
Right.
So one of the best things I can do is, once I fix my mindset and I've decided who I'll serve, I go find the communities where they are. And I go there and say, hi, this is who I am, and this is what I do. So I'll give you an example. So let's say for me, I fix my mindset. I decide, oh, I've done the podcast, I've done the EntreMD Business School, I've written all these books. It's amazing. And marketing is my job, non-negotiable. Okay.
Hmm.
My job is to go find as many physicians as possible who want what I do and put myself in front of them. Okay. So I've done that. I've defined who it is I serve: physicians who want to build six, seven, multiple seven-figure businesses. They're committed to this, and they prioritize having a dream life as they build their dream business, right? Like, they want to do both.
Correct.
So these are my people. The next step is to then say, where are they gathered?
Hmm.
Now, for everyone listening or watching, I want you to think about it. Where are they gathered? So there are Facebook groups where they are.
Hmm.
My job is to go there. I can serve in those Facebook groups and answer business questions. I can talk to the administrator of the Facebook group and say, hey, how about I come do a live, on all things business once a week in this group? They
Hmm.
already exist there. They go to events. I can apply to be a speaker at that event, at those events. I can go to network at those events. Every time I show up in one of these buckets, the people who know me, that number grows, right? I can say, oh, they listen to blogs. They all read Kevin MD. I can go write articles on Kevin MD. Their podcasts they listen to, I can go be guests on those podcasts, just like I'm a guest here, right? Like, I can go be a guest on those podcasts. Their associations they're a part of. So they all exist. My job, if it's private practice, especially, they already go to other doctors. Who has one doctor? They have
That's
all their
true.
doctors, right? So I'm a pediatrician. It means all the OBGYNs have my clients,
Mm-hmm.
right? They serve them in a different way. They serve the mother. I serve the mother's child, right?
Right.
And so I go to the OBGYNs. Hey, I started practice. I'm a pediatrician in the area, blah, blah, blah. Started practice. And as I do that, then I can bring them home.
Mm-hmm.
But I can, so me having a YouTube channel, podcast, what is useless, quote unquote, if I haven't, first of all, if I'm not going out to let the people find me.
Yes.
Because the only person who's going to listen to my podcast is the person who's already found me.
And it's a lot of work.
It's a lot. But
It's yeah,
if we
and consistency.
redefine it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we see it as I have this amazing service, it's going to change a lot of lives. These are the people who change the lives for, and they're all over there. I'm like, hey guys, over there.
Yes.
You've been looking for me. Here I am. Then when we do that, then we can bring them home,
Yes.
right?
And once they're home, then the next step. So it's
Then the
really
next step.
important, I think, for those who are listening. And this applies to so many facets. This applies to business overall. So I know that, I've had some people reach out to me and they're like, well, how do you do this? Is the framework, this is the mindset. You have a gift, a skill set, something that you want to bring to the world. You've decided, I will, and I am going to do that. So you've made that decision. So the next decision after you've decided that this is going to be your business is marketing is non-negotiable. People need to know about me. It's not like we like to say, I'm not going to be the best kept secret. That's our next phrase. No best kept secret going on here, right? So once you've decided that, now you need to find where they're gathering, the watering hole. If you want to think about it, if you think about it, where are they gathered, commiserating with each other, where they're all sitting and everyone is there and they're, like we said, commiserating. I'm feeling this way, me too. Man, I wish I could get some help, me too. Then guess what? When you go there and you can say, oh, you know what? I can actually help you. Wow. Wow. Right? Think about it. And this is also the mindset that we talked about in the beginning, the serving and mindset, where you aren't manipulating. Like, as a gift, when you've done and you've started your business, this is not manipulation. And you're right, business, the word business has a negative connotation, especially when it's put next to medicine. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people say, I've been at conferences and they're like, I don't want to have anything to do with business. Business destroyed medicine. And, the truth of the matter is business is not good or bad. Business is. It just
Is.
depends on who's doing it. It's like money. People say money is bad. Money
Mhm,
is paper with dead men's faces on it. You know what
mhm,
I mean? Like it's not good or bad. It takes the shape of whoever has it. So medicine wasn't destroyed by business. Business medicine was destroyed by people who put profit before people.
mhm,
And then we are the people who put people before profit. But you see, there's no business without profit. And we live in an economic world. And so when we pretend that profit is not needed, that's an illusion. That's a little bit of delusion, right?
mhm,
Because it's required. It's required. And if we can walk away from it and just say, doctors are people who love to help people. And
mhm.
there are people who would put people before profits, which makes them very ethical entrepreneurs. And they are really the kind of entrepreneurs that the healthcare space needs and
Mhm.
deserves. Is we cannot run away from business. We can
Absolutely.
learn to do it the right way.
And that's important. Learn to do it the right way, but you can't run away from it. Even if you're saying, well, for profit or not for profit. Well, I'm a nonprofit. That's okay. But guess what? You still need? You still need to be exactly. So to serve, no matter what, in your capacity, you still need these skills. Alrighty, so I'm out there. I made the decision. I'm like, all right, if marketing is non-negotiable, I went to the watering hole and I found my people, and now I'm bringing them over. Okay, I'm like, all right, what do I do with them now? They started to follow me, and I'm like, okay, Thank you for following me. But what's my next step?
Yeah, so I'll give you two steps.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is what in the business world we'll call nurture, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they come home, you kind of set the stage for them to continue to know, like, and trust because it's still checking out. So think about it like dating, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you go somewhere, you meet somebody, and the person decides to go with you on a date, and then you ask them to marry you. It's like, whoa, yo, I
I
don't,
just
I
met
don't know
you.
you like that, right? Like it's like, what? Wait, I'm out. Like, what do you mean, right? So think of it almost like a dating period, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people would be really quick to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Beckford, I'm sure you know this, but like we've had people follow, listen to the podcast, stay on the email list, show up for live events that we do and all that for 2 years
Yes.
before they join the EntreMD Business School. What if I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have anything for them? What if I didn't have a podcast? What if I didn't have a weekly newsletter and all of those things? They would then make the decision, but they wouldn't even remember who I am. And so
Right.
what I would have done is I would have done the marketing for somebody else because they will sign up and go work with somebody else, right?
That's
And so
true.
this fourth step is really about creating a container where people can continue to check you out, know, like, and trust you, maybe get wins from some of your free content. I'm a big fan of YouTube or a podcast, or a blog, one of those three. It could be an email newsletter, especially for private practice, where you're just giving value.
Mm-hmm.
Like what we're doing on here would give me value. Like these are things that, I mean, if you read the book, a lot of it is in the book, right? But we're not charging for this. On the EntreMD Business School, we talk about these concepts a lot and implement them a lot. So
Absolutely.
we're not doing fluff. This is not fluffy. We're giving true
Mm-hmm.
value. Somebody's going to listen to this and make the decision that I market my practice now, and they're going to go out and they're going to double their revenue just from
Mm-hmm.
listening to both of us, right?
Absolutely.
So we've created this place where people can be nurtured. Now, sometimes people listen like, "Oh my goodness, YouTube, oh, content, podcasts, and all that." So let me pedal back right now. And if you're a physician and you're watching this, like I think I really would love for you to type this in the comment, like, I am a content creating machine, like a
Yes.
machine. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you think about like a family medicine doc who sees 20 patients a day,
Mm-hmm.
let's look at what is actually happening. Okay. What happens is somebody comes in, says, "Oh, doc, I'm here, to check my blood pressure. I've been having a lot of headaches and stuff like that. I've been taking my medicine, but I don't think everything is working out okay." Right. Now the person proceeds to ask a bunch of questions, right? And examines the
Mm-hmm.
patient and all of that. And then comes up with, "Well, I think this is what is going on. You have poorly controlled hypertension." And I'm so making this up. I'm a pediatrician. I don't even know why I'm using this example, but
You're
you have
right. I
poorly
had one of them
controlled,
last night.
okay, you have poorly controlled, hypertension. I think it's because of this and that. We're going to switch your meds like this, but these are these lifestyle things I want you to do, and all of those things. That is a YouTube video.
That's true.
That is a YouTube video done without a camera. Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like we created content. They did not tell us that. We told them that. We came up with the content. We had an outline,
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis, medical decision making, blah blah blah. Like okay. Then, as if that's not good enough, we walk out of the room and then pull out our computer and proceed to write a blog post about it.
Stop.
But that's
Stop.
exactly what happened. So if we recorded the audio, that was a podcast, a YouTube video, and a blog, and we do that 20 times a day. So
Wow.
when a doctor tells me, "Oh, I can't do video," I'm like, we're just turning on the camera. You do 20 YouTube videos, podcasts, and blogs every single day. You do it 5 days a week. You do 100 pieces of content 5 days a week. And there are many family docs who see 30 patients. So, I mean, so we cannot
Wow.
possibly run out of content. It's just the way we think about it. It's like YouTube, right? Like, don't think about that. You create content. You're a beast at creating content. Total beast. So imagine you're the doctor who has the family
Mhm.
medicine practice, and you have YouTube videos on all the things that your patients are asking questions about. They will watch it. They will share it. They will tell their friends about it. You'll be established as the authority. And because so many physicians are unwilling to do it, you will really be the authority.
Wow.
Right? So you bring them home and you nurture. And when you nurture them in that way, you're the winner. And if you're not going to
Absolutely.
do any of these, at least do an email newsletter, right? But that is high value. Like when they read it, it's something they'll want to share. It's something they want to take
Mhm.
action on. But you bring them home and you nurture them, right? Then the it's not the final piece, but one last piece I'll give you is, oh my goodness, then pop the question, right? Because this is where so many things fall apart, right?
Yes.
When you have to set your business up such that periodically you're asking people, come work with me, come work
Mm-hmm.
with me, come work with me. You're a coach, you're like, I have a new cohort coming up, come work with me. You're dealing with this kind of stuff, right? You're burnt out, you have 200 undone charts and all of these things. Life doesn't have to look like that. I go home, my clients go home at 5 p.m. and their notes are all done, they go play with their kids, they do not chart at home. Life can look like that for you. Come work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You've been wondering who you could partner with in your infertility journey. You want a doctor who would be compassionate, who would be this, who uses the latest technology. I'm that person. I want to partner with you and give you your best chance at having your own baby, blah 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 blah. Come work with me. Right. Like, that ask needs to happen. And this is important because I cannot tell you how many times people will say, oh, I did a webinar. I'm like, tell me about it. It was amazing. Awesome. Give me details. I had, 200 people register and I had 100 people come up live and all of that stuff. It was amazing. Okay. So how many people said yes? Halfway through the webinar, I figured I'm just going to give them a lot of value and I wasn't going to mess it up by asking them for anything. Okay. Dr. Beckford, I'm sure you have friends.
Yes.
You have a friend who's a girl, a
Mm-hmm.
lady, who has been dating said guy for
Mm-hmm.
1 year. And what is the conversation you have with them? I don't know why he hasn't asked the question. She's been meaning to say yes since day 60.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not asking any question. And it's the same thing because your clients and your patients, they don't know. If you don't ask them, they will assume that you're too busy. They will
Yes.
assume, I mean, especially you have a YouTube channel, they're just like,
Oh
this person
yeah.
is
You're
just like
just
a big deal and they don't have time. I've had patients tell me, oh, I had this friend. I'm always telling her about you, and she's like, oh my goodness, I would love a pediatrician like her. And she's like, I don't think she's accepting new patients. I was like, what? Wait, what? I told her I don't think you're, like I come, it looks like you're always seeing patients, you're busy.
mm-hmm.
So she was doing me a favor
By
by
not.
not telling her people, no, you can't come here, go somewhere else.
Ooh.
Because, and I'm thinking I'm making offers, but not enough.
Yes.
So we must pop the question. Okay. The girl is irritated. Boy, ask the question.
Ask
Okay.
the question.
Otherwise, what you'd have done is you would have warmed them up. You'd have convinced them that they need whatever it is that you provide, and you would have funneled them to somebody else who is making offers and asking them to work with them.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
you've
exactly what
done
you're
a
doing.
lot of the work. So for those who are like, listening, this is all of the what we call the nurturing and getting the person ready to say yes. They're looking at you. They're like, if you will ask me, I will say yes. But you keep not asking. But they're like, I need this service. I need this, what we like to say, pain to go away. So this other person comes in and pops in and say, oh, you know what? I can help with that. They're like, well, I do have that pain. I have been waiting for said person to say yes, but maybe they just don't fill in the blank. Well, I'll go get this other person to take. Now you have put in all the work, and another person, unfortunately, gets the reward because you will not ask. Now, I don't know if some of you guys caught this gem that happened halfway through this conversation, this portion about reframing how we look at our days when it comes to content creation. That's why I had to say so. Now, the video portion I got. Now, we as physicians, we write notes all the time, but the blog, I said, OMG, I did not even think about this blog that we're writing day in, day out. And it's something that we do for every single patient. It's not that we skip a patient and say, okay, well, patient number 15, I'm just not going to write in their chart today. And yeah, I just don't feel like writing on patient number 25 or patient number 7. I'm just going to do every other patient. So every other patient, I'll write in their charts. But we write for every single patient. So every single chart that we're writing, like you said, it's a blog content. Mind blown.
Content creating machines. That's what we
Machine.
are. Hmm.
Wow. Alrighty. So, we got them there. Now some people are just like, all right, okay. There's I'm just gonna have you just give this one last piece. 10x portion. Boom. We got there, but we know there's a little bit of sprinkle right on the top to just get them to that 10x. Let's just give them a little bit, because I know for those, we'll talk about other ways that they can get more later on. I want to invite them to be part of your world, but let's just give them a little sprinkle. We got you there, but now to the 10x part. Go ahead.
So when you think about 10x, 10x is not really more activity, is
Mhm.
higher level activity, right?
Mhm.
And so you may be thinking, when you think about all this, you're like blog, YouTube, referrals, going to other places. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
And there is a superpower that we can develop. And that is the superpower of leveraging team and
Mhm.
systems and automation to 10x the activity. So I'll explain what I mean. For instance, when we create content, sometimes people think, well, then I have to sit all day and create content. There's no
Mhm.
ultra successful person who sits all day and creates content. It just doesn't happen. So there are a number of things they would do. One of the things they would do is they would repurpose content. And
Mhm.
what that means is, and Dr. Beckford, I think you do this, but if you don't, you can try it out.
Mhm.
You can go to your LinkedIn profile. You can go back 3 months. You can pull up your best performing posts, pick the top
Mhm.
6. And you can decide, this week, like this new week that's starting, I don't even want to think about it. You can take those same posts exactly as they are and schedule them Monday through Friday. And people still come on there and say, I needed this today. You still
Yes.
have 200 comments and nobody remember that you posted them 3 months ago.
Yep.
And so if you learn to do that, you can be very prolific, not because you're putting 10x the amount of time.
Mhm.
Okay. So repurposing is one. Leveraging your team is another. And I want
Mhm.
you to think about what I just told you about taking those posts. Well, what if you didn't do it at all?
What if
What
it
if you
was
told
done?
your team, go there, go pull up the analytics, take my best performing posts in the last, from month 3 from now, and then just schedule them from Monday through Friday.
Mhm.
And you did nothing. And you were very prolific on LinkedIn. Right? So
Right.
think about that. These are just examples, right?
Mhm.
And then you can also leverage your team, like whether that's referral source or whatever, you can leverage them to do all of those things. So you have the bandwidth to do more, to do
Mhm.
higher level things, right? To build the relationships that only you can build. You're practicing at the top of your business license, if you will. But
Yes.
if you can leverage your team and you can leverage repurposing, you
Mhm.
can leverage batching. Oh, I cannot tell you. The
Mhm.
first year I started podcasting, I always made sure I was 6 weeks ahead, right? Or something like that. And then one day I decided, you know what? I want to take a month off podcasting. And
Mhm.
so I made sure I was either 7 or 8 weeks ahead. And it was October. I did not record a single thing. And here I have
Mhm.
2 episodes going out every single week.
Every
I
week.
clock work, but I gave myself a podcasting sabbatical. I
Mhm.
didn't podcast at all. Do you see what I mean? Now I can use
Absolutely.
that time to then go build referral sources, do all of that other stuff, or just sleep, like whatever needs
Yes.
to be done, right? You can leverage your team like my team, so amazing, right? They would pitch me on podcasts. And so I am doing on average 6 to 8 podcast guest spots.
Mhm.
And sometimes I'm like, where did you find these people? I didn't even know they're a physician with a podcast. I've never even heard of them. But my team does that. And so I'm in
Yes.
front of all these audiences and I just obey my calendar. I go where I'm told. You see what I'm saying? And so teams, batching, repurposing, you can use that to really amplify what it is that you're doing so that you,
Mhm.
even though people are like, because people tell me, you're everywhere, you're doing all of these things. Like, I don't know how you do it. You must be so busy. You must not have time for yourself. I promise you, I have time for myself. I promise you,
Mhm.
I homeschool my older two kids.
Mhm.
I have time to take vacations. I go to bed when I need to. I go on date nights. I have time for my morning routine to
Mhm.
pray, meditate, and exercise, and read, and listen to podcasts, and all that every single day.
Mm.
So I I leverage my life so that I
Right.
have the bandwidth to do a lot and still be a human,
Yes.
right?
Important.
And still be a human and still be creating my version of a dream life for the stage of life that I'm at. And
Mhm.
so if you do that, you can become this person who seems almost now we're not omnipresent, right? But like omnipresent. And people are like you're
Mhm.
everywhere, but you're okay.
But you're okay. I love it. Alrighty, before I start asking you about the burnout portion of things, let's give a couple of shout out to some people who have been in the chat. Hello, Jessica.
Hi,
Hey, hey,
Jessica.
hey, Jessica.
Jessica is a total rock star. She's part of
Rock
Team
star.
EntreMD. We are so grateful she's on our team.
Absolutely. And then Gregory Ballard, he said good stuff. So that's one of my pastors at the hospital system where I work. Hello, hello, hello.
Amazing.
Yes. Great supporter, always, always supporting. And then we have one of our rock star colleagues in the EntreMD Business School, Dr.
Dr.
Carola.
Corolla. Hi, Dr. Corolla.
Hi. All right, a big shout out to Dr. Dr. Janice Walker, who light bulb moment for her too. Each patient encounter is content. I
And
know.
no
I
one
feel
is
this
ready
is
for
it.
her. She's coming.
No, she is coming out there, out of Florida. There we go. And then we have one of our other docs, Dr. Sarah Nasir. She's like absolute efficiency. So our engineering professor said engineers are lazy. So they make things more efficient so that they can work less. Efficiency is the smart way. And that's right. So we're going to be more efficient so we can be like omnipresent so that those who are out there who need us, they'll know because we're out there and letting them know that we're there to help. Alrighty. So before that, before you started telling us about, your secret sauce of how to get out there, we want to know, have you ever been burnt out? And if you did, what did it look like for you?
I don't I don't know that I've ever been truly burned out.
Mm-hmm.
And and sometimes like, man, your healthcare, can you identify with people? But I can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I have, but I've sat down to think about how come, like why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will give my husband a lot of credit because he's really big on team.
Mm-hmm.
And he got me on that bus pretty quick. And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the reasons why I didn't have that. So I had a home team built out before I even started a business. Now, when I say home team, let's put this in perspective. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
real about this. This started about 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was different, phases of it, right? Like, in
Right.
EBS, we talk about the pace of grace. So it doesn't mean I had this whole team, staff, butler, everybody waiting. That's not what it was.
Look at
But I
Dr. Una,
started,
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
you know what I mean? But I started delegating like personal stuff pretty early.
Right.
So I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you if that's okay. I'll tell you the things that I think are the reason why I never got there. Um,
Yes.
the first one is delegation, starting
Mm-hmm.
from home,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like so when I say this is my story. Anybody can do what they need to do. I don't know the last time I cooked. I don't know the last time I cleaned. I don't know the last time I did laundry. When I say cook, I'm talking years, like maybe 8 years, 9 years. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started giving up those things pretty early because it
Mm-hmm.
was very clear to me that I was going to need to do multiple things. Like, so,
Mm-hmm.
that in addition to all this, the same time we launched the private practice, we launched a church plant. And
Mm-hmm.
so And that's when I started having kids. I have 4 kids. So I already had like 4 or 5 lives going on at the same time. I did not have the
Absolutely.
bandwidth to fight to do laundry. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't do it. So I had a personal team. I was able to get those things off my plate. So it's almost as though I would bring one thing on my plate and take one thing off.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, I did have some challenge, like what kind of mother doesn't do any, you know what I mean? All of these
Yes,
things.
the
But
mind drama.
yeah, like, but my husband helped me. He's like, what are you doing? Like, you can choose to have a large life or not. You can't have both. You know what I
Right.
mean? Which was really
Mm-hmm.
helpful to me. So that was the first thing. The second thing is my boundaries have always been on point.
Mm-hmm.
Always been on point. Like, because if you think about it, people can reach me from my practice. People can reach me from EntreMD. People can reach me from church. I have a mentorship group that meets every morning. People can reach me from there, but I can't be all things to all the people. I
Mm-hmm.
just cannot, right?
Absolutely.
And so I became comfortable saying no. I became
Mm-hmm.
comfortable doing what I can do at 100% and being okay with not being able to do the other stuff. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so people will say things like, they'll tell their patients, oh, anytime, call us after hours if you have any questions. Those words have never left my lips. Never. They have never. Why would I tell you to call me anytime? I don't want you to call me anytime. If I'm going
That's
to see
true.
patients from 9 to 5 and I'm going to run the business, I don't want you calling me at 2 a.m. except you absolutely must. Do you
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? Like, so I always put those boundaries in place so that I can have the bandwidth to do the things that I needed to do. I think that was the second
Absolutely.
thing. The third thing is I have always looked inwards to see what exactly is my purpose? Why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when you're in a position where you feel like you're doing your life's work, it's hard to get burned out. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, because
Mm-hmm.
there is a sense it's too big for you to major in the minors.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Like, so 5 years ago, I started saying I'm on a mission to help 100,000 physicians build profitable businesses so they can live life and practice medicine on their terms, which means I don't have time to say, oh, I posted 2 things on social media and it didn't work, because I don't have the bandwidth for that, because I'm trying to help 100,000 people. So if it didn't work, I'm
Yes.
going to keep going. I'm going to try it a different way. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to get it right. Like, so the 80% stuff, the trivial stuff, the
Mm-hmm.
stopping and stopping and stopping because things didn't go my way. I don't have like, I'm trying to find 100,000 people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it helped me become so laser focused that the things that are typically distractions were not a distraction for me, because the plan was just so big that
Mm-hmm.
the distractions became more obvious. Does that make
Ah,
sense?
yeah. So
Because
once the distraction came and you saw it, you can now see it a mile away.
yeah,
And you know that those distractions, and it's a great point that you're making, ones with the delegation, but the distractions ends up pulling a lot of your energy,
yes,
which can lead you to the burnout. So when
yes,
you see the distraction coming your way, you can avert it, because that's the energy that's trying to pull me towards burnout. And I have a mission that I'm on. So I can't use my energy to deal with the distraction, because I know this mission that I'm on. And
yeah.
that, yeah, helps you to avoid it. So we have some
Because
people who are like in the chat. Oh man, you blew it up with this. Dr. Amaka, yeah, she said, thank you for being
oh,
so
hi.
honest. Yes, yes. And about the mind drama, which is really such a fake reality, right? And so true about not feeling burnt out when you're doing your purpose, your life's purpose is about the big picture. Yeah. So, not letting the distraction pull you away from it, that definitely
Yeah, and
helps you to.
distractions when you have a big goal, and not just a
Mhm.
goal, but what you feel like. When I do what I do with EntreMD, I'm like, this is why I'm here. Especially in this phase of my life, this is why I'm here. And so when somebody offers me something that is completely off track, that is good, but is completely off track, I see it as off track, because I'm like,
Mhm.
this is not taking me where I'm going. And so
Right.
it's easier to say no. It's easier to recognize, and so I understand like the opportunity cost is that I don't help the 100,000. I have no interest in that opportunity cost. That's just way too
Exhausting.
expensive. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
it makes it easier. And then you don't fill up your plate with things that don't matter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the
Mm-hmm.
final thing that really, really helps me with my burnout is what burnout, like avoid burnout, is really having a very solid um, morning routine. And it doesn't have
Yes.
to be morning, but I just have a routine for taking care of me, not me, the entrepreneur, not me, the mommy, not me, the wife, not me, the pastor, not me. It's me, the human. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talk about this probably in every book that I've written, where I talk about my daily five, which is 6 things, but it's my
That's
daily
okay.
five. And I can
Part of
count, but
EBS
it is
counting.
what it is. And for me, that is prayer is a non-negotiable for me. I love every day to be able to go like, okay, God, this is my problem. I will deal with this. This other problem is above my pay grade. I'm okay with you handling it. Right. Like
Mm-hmm.
to be able to do that, meditating, on the scriptures, which say the nicest things about me. Right. I do that to fill up my cup. I listen to podcasts, from people who are living big lives because they all have challenges. It normalizes it. I learn from their
Mm-hmm.
stories. Um, Reviewing my goals so that way it's kind of like looking at your GPS. Like you drive a bit, you look at your GPS. I'm looking at my
Mm-hmm.
GPS like, okay, I'm like, okay, I'm still on track. This is amazing. Um, I say exercise, but it's really walking in nature is just
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I know is like the one of the biggest de-stressors for me. And it's where
Mm-hmm.
I do my best thinking work. And a lot of the concepts I talk about in EBS, is on my walks, those, come up and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I make the commitment to do the and to read. I make the commitment to do those things every day because every day is almost like taking a internal bath
Yeah.
after you've been, in the playground all day in the sun. It just is so refreshing for me. And it's just a non-negotiable for me. No matter how busy I am or no matter how big I get, is what I
Mm-hmm.
do to take care of me. And it's worked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that morning routine, or I call it like wake up routine for me, morning routine, it's so powerful that I can tell the difference when I don't do it and it slips, because the part of me that's going into the world and that's responding to things like emails or text messages, it's a total different person. So it's like grounding yourself. I call it like being able to enter into your day, not let have your day enter into you, is going in with a solid foundation. And that's a big thing in helping to avoid burnout. So definitely love that. Alrighty, so my fun question of the day, and then we're gonna have you tell everybody where they can find you, because I know they've been blowing up the chat. And I thank you all who have been watching this wonderful conversation. Alrighty, so I know this answer, but let me see if it's the same answer. So, I'm building my utopia in my mind, and I've, interviewed over almost 250 of our colleagues. So I want to know, if you weren't a doctor, an entrepreneur, if you weren't helping people build multiple seven figures, pastor, yeah, you know how I do. You weren't. Let me see what else I got to take off, because I'm real. Yeah, I need to take all of these things off. Let me see what else you talked about. Yeah, so we already took doctor, so you can't be OBGYN. So if you were any of that, what would you be?
Professionally,
Yes, professionally. So it's my utopia. So, I the last time I remember what you said, because we
I
have
would be an interior
some
designer.
people. Yes, that's what you said. All right, so
Yeah,
it's
I
good.
would I would have been an interior designer. That was my first choice before medicine.
Interior designer. So in my utopia, I have our interior designer. So you're still doing that. I just wanted to know. I didn't know if you were going to change profession on me.
No, no.
So interior designer. And we have cafe. We have those who are our florists. We have some who are doing gardening. We have our travel journalists, and we have our travel photographers, all in my little utopia for
Oh wow.
physicians that we're building. I don't know, somewhere, somehow. I'll let y'all know when I need your skill sets. But with that in mind, we're going to be ending this wonderful conversation. So I know there's so many people who want to be part of Dr. Una's world. They're like, oh my gosh, your EntreMD Business School. Like, there's so many things that you have for us. Is there a way for me to connect with you? How can I find you? Be part of the world. Is there something big coming on? Is there something big going on soon? Like, tell us all about
Oh, there's always something going on in my world every
it.
single day. But so I will tell you a number of things.
Mhm.
And usually I would tell you one thing, but I will give you three things.
Okay.
Now the first thing is there is a podcast called the EntreMD Podcast
Mhm.
where I do some of my finest work as far as the business of medicine, building team, launching your YouTube, crossing the first seven figures. I tell a lot of my stories. As you can see, I treat my story as like an example for everyone, and I'm not afraid to share it because I
Mhm.
don't think it's mine to keep. And so you want to subscribe to that and you just want to add it to your routine. Like, this is something that I do every week. This is where I get my business education. We are
Mhm.
at 420 something odd episodes. So you got a lot of listening to
A
do.
lot of listening.
I just had somebody who reached out. I was like, I listened to episode number 2. It totally rocks my world. I've been trying to put these in words. I didn't know anybody could understand me. I thought I was crazy. I was like, no, you're not crazy. You're
Yeah.
not crazy. So the podcast, that is your business education. That is your free MBA.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is we have a number of books that we've written,
Mhm.
and again, lots of these things are in there. We have the EntreMD method. We have the visibility formula. This was the most recent one, but it will be
Yeah.
dethroned in another 2 months. We have a new book coming out, but this is about taking your business from best kept secret to household name. So if you go to Amazon, put in EntreMD or put in Nneka Unachukwu, you pull out, all the
Mhm.
books that are there, and they're easy reads, but they're
Mhm.
powerful reads, and it's exactly what the physician community needs. If you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I got all three, then I want you to get all three for somebody else. This is how
Mhm.
we are the cavalry, and we're bringing change to medicine. Um, if you're like, Dr. Una, you do not know who I am. I am gong ho. I am committed. I want to build a 7-figure business. I want to be mentored by you. I want to be in a community of docs like you and Dr. Beckford and the other
Mhm.
docs who are in there who are total unicorns. And I want the accountability, which happens to be my superpower.
Mhm.
And Dr. Beckford's superpower because she runs our CEO Power Hours. And then come join us in the EntreMD Business School. Now,
Mhm.
the next step for that would be to schedule a call. You'll be talking to Makita, who we don't do hard sales like grab your neck,
We
and we
love
don't do
Nikita.
any of that. Our job is just to help you decide, is this my best next step or not? Right. So
Mhm.
entremd.com/call. And you can just schedule a call there. Right.
Mhm.
Um, and we have EntreMD Live coming up. Dr. Beck, are you going to be live in Atlanta?
You bet. Let me say, you
You
know what?
bet.
And we have EntreMD Live coming up. We and all of our calls too. For those of you guys, we always have our kids that jump on the call, so we call them the EBS
Yes,
juniors.
Junior.
So this is really almost like a family affair of learning all the skill sets about. Dr. Nasir is like, what? Where is EntreMD Live? Okay, what is EntreMD Live? Hey, so Dr. Nasir, let's let her know where she can go to find all this info. She was like, what?
Yeah, entremd.com/live. And make
Yes.
it any easier. EntreMD Live is our annual event. This will be our fifth one. Can you imagine that, Dr. Beckford? This will
I
be our fifth one. And it's really to help you build that 7-figure roadmap. So to your first or your next 7 figures. It's
mhm,
usually virtual, but this year we will have a live audience. So we have limited seating for, I don't know how many people, but the team will tell me. But like to join us in the live streaming space, and it's
mhm.
going to be off the chain amazing. So imagine this for a whole day, opportunities for Q&A, deep dives, workshopping, co-working. Ah, so good.
All the
So
things.
good.
All the immersion. It's kind of the live immersion into the EntreMD world. That's
Yeah.
so for those who are on the outside, you'll get that live immersion there into that world. All righty. Well, Dr. Una, I took up a whole bunch of your time. but I'm not sorry
You're not,
because
and it's
no,
okay.
no, I'm not, because I wanted all of those who were listening to get as much. And I tried, and I hope I was able to pull out all of the juice, everything that we need in order to help us to not only build a successful business, but to 10x that business. So I was trying to get all of the juice out of Dr. Una for us on this wonderful, wonderful conversation. So for those of you guys who were watching, thank you so much for watching. For those of you guys who are in the chat, thank you so much, for blowing up the chat and asking all those questions and giving us their comments. For those of you guys who will be listening to this later on, thank you so much. Now, I know you're like, okay, Dr. Beckford, that's all good, but what is it that you do? And I'm like, okay, thank you so much for asking. So if you are looking for a dynamic speaker to speak on stress management or burnout prevention at your next event, if you're looking for stress management training for your organization, your company, your business, I am she. So some of these wonderful, wonderful tips that Dr. Una talked about, we break it down in those stress management and burnout prevention training and workshop. So contact me at Dr. Beckford at yourcaringdocs.com. That's Dr. Beckford at URCARINGDOCS.com. And I will get in contact with you and we will make this happen, right? So thank you all again for joining me on this wonderful, wonderful conversation with Dr. Una, where we just stole all of her juices, ideas. It's all recorded here. So you know what? You got to send this to 10 of your friends, 10 of your friends that you guys are sitting there commiserating, like, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. Hey, this wonderful podcast info was just for you, right? So if I don't see you here, I'll see you guys as a part of the EntreMD, right? Thank you so much again, Dr. Una.
Thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. You're amazing.
Dr. Sarah this year. Thank you so much. Big kisses to you. Always great watching the both of you. Same here. So we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.